Okay, everybody, you've just been treated with one of the
Oh, wait.
of Wild Dude
Wait, we're gonna delete this episode after, right, guys? We're still planning on doing that.
Terry Go Knowles deserves sounders. So.
Go ahead.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said, let him cook.
And I've invited a very special guest.
Oh.
Greg's in the house. Greg's in the house.
Man.
That speak around the corner, Greg Flugaur, with that sounder. Carrie, thanks for your super chat. We really appreciate it. Really appreciate you. Let's get some more shout outs here. Timothy Green says, sounds like another very interesting and informative show. We try to do that here, Timothy. Hopefully we did our job. Ryan Willie, another one of our members, says, hi, College Football Mafia family. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
No.
Oh,
no.
boy.
I'm in trouble now. Crap. Greg.
All right, let's go, Greg.
Thank you for letting me come on in.
I
know Moen is usually the villain. He's wearing the black hat, but I think you need another villain on the show, so I am the man that can get it done.
Let's go. I'm ready for that.
Did you guys read John Wilner's article of today?
I did.
You did?
Yep.
Let's
Okay.
pull it up.
Okay. Well, can you pull up my my tweet on it?
Yeah, I can look for it. Hang on a second.
Go ahead, because I posted 2 parts of that article.
Okay, let me do a search here for you. Hang on.
I did a two pics of the article.
I wasn't told to be prepared.
Well,
So
yeah.
I didn't have it up. This is my fault. Okay, here we go. I've got it right here.
Okay, can you like the first pick and the second pick? So this is John Wilner.
Here's
article.
The first pick.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Share screen. Entire screen. All right, here's the first one. Go ahead, Greg.
So this is John Wilner discussing the ins and outs of why maybe the Big 12 should do the equity deal, okay? And he's talking about this rapid decline of students 5 to 10 years after the 2025-2026. So we had fertility rates fell rapidly from 2007 to 2009. We're going to hit a peak in 2005, and then it's going to drop off the table. If you go to the next picture.
Yep.
And then we can do away with this. 10 years, as many as 15% college students going to drop off the table. So connecting the dots from the Great Recession to the Big 12 private equity play isn't difficult. It's simple supply and demand. Colleges will be competing for a shrinking pool of applicants, especially out-of-state students who pay full cost tuition. Okay, you can get rid of that.
Okay.
So this is not only this article pertained to the Big 12's decision. Private equity, not private equity. If you get the money, where do you put it? John Wilner's article is about Big 12 needing to win more football games, as Nathan was saying earlier. Now, Wild Youth is bringing up a good aspect of it. Use the money to bring in more value to the conference because that's a longer play.
Right.
Okay, whatever. Back and forth. Sounds great. This also pertains to expansion. This is exactly why the SEC is looking at the state of North Carolina and the state of Virginia.
Right.
It's those students. The national reporters really haven't fleshed it out, but that is why the SEC, not just the footprint, but in the demographics of North Carolina, Virginia, their students are younger. So their peak isn't hitting 2025, supposedly. It's going to go on for a bit. And the SEC wants those states to be SEC country, so then Mississippi State can be more attractive to their students. LSU, Georgia, therefore they're on. Okay, so I'm going to be the villain here. I'm going to get everybody mad at me. I've already got everybody mad at me, so let's just
Sure.
double down, baby. Double
All right,
down.
let's go. Let's go.
Wild Ute said the next realignment goes through Florida State. Florida State is a great university, has great value, great brand. Dennis Dodd, I agree with Wild Ute, probably a little bit off on those numbers. But the next realignment does not go through Florida State. It goes through, since I'm going to be the villain, let's go really get into it. The next realignment wave goes through Notre Dame again. Ooh. And it goes through North Carolina. 2 reasons. 1, Notre Dame, they're already in the Big Ten contract. Those Big Ten schools already know they're going to get a bump in pay. CBS, NBC, and Fox have already kind of agreed that the bump in pay is going to go up. Blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, you got the unique brand of Notre Dame and everything. And everything Moen says about Notre Dame is correct as he's sipping on his drink. In North Carolina is the other one. So for big brand and for those students and the growth, they're the 9th largest state in the country with no SEC Big Ten school in it, and they're going to be the 7th largest in 2030 projections. And when it comes to the students, they're even larger than that. So I get it. Florida State is an incredible brand, best football brand out there that's not in the SEC of the Big Ten. They're a better brand than half or most of the Big Ten schools, half of the SEC, no question about it. But this is about timing. This is about leverage. This is about students. And what now is believed, now this is either going to go one or 2 ways. And I don't know which way it's going to go. And if it goes one way, Wild Ute is going to nail it. If it goes the other way, then everyone's going to be gasping, going, what the hell is about to happen? The first way, the Wild Ute way, this could be happening or could happen. Nobody knows. But let's say there is some negotiation going on, or there will be negotiation going on. And it's in secret. Of course it's going to be in secret. But part of those negotiations, Florida State and Clemson is going to say, once we get this settlement number figured out, nobody says a word. And then give us the opening to talk with the Big Ten and the SEC. Give us the window of first opportunity to talk with them. I don't think that's how it's going to go after talking with people. Once there is a settlement number, once there is a pathway to it, Florida State and Clemson are going to be the very first ones that people can talk to, which is good, which is great, which is an advantage, right? But in the last 7 days, it's been clear to me, and people can disagree, whatever you want to do with this. But it's been said to me that the SEC and the Big Ten, if Clemson and Florida State become available tomorrow because of a settlement, they'll, especially the Big Ten, will talk to the Florida State, right? Clemson, but they're going to once again. Notre Dame, are you thinking, Florida State and Clemson, they're going to get out. They've got the number. Notre Dame, what are you doing? North Carolina, are you going to get out of the quagmire of the state of North Carolina with the Board of Governors? What are you doing? If there's an opportunity for us to talk with you, we'll wait for the opportunity before we hand out an offer, before we really get in the deep weeds with Florida State, with Clemson. As great as schools they are and great at brands they are. So, and people are very upset with me, and I get it, but I think the next realignment wave again goes through Notre Dame and North Carolina.
Very good summation. I think that most would agree with you, Craig. Like, I think that most would see Notre Dame, and I mean, UNC would be a little bit more arguable, right? Like, you could have a debate either way on the value of UNC, but I could see it like exactly how you're saying it. But the one thing is the trigger event. The trigger event is FSU. It's not Notre Dame. Notre Dame does not want to go to the Big Ten. There's not the wanter isn't there, right? So they might be the biggest gorilla and stuff and the most valuable property, but they're not the trigger event. The trigger event is Florida State and this lawsuit and stuff. So that's really why realignments, in my view, is getting driven by Florida State, because if Florida State wasn't making all this noise, nothing would happen.
No question about it. No question about it. Now, you're right. I mean, Florida State is the tip of the spear, no pun intended, or pun intended. But let's just, and I don't know, man. Let's just pretend for a moment Nathan and Moen and Wild You put up this show because breaking news, settlement.
Right.
Okay. So now Notre Dame knows that Florida State has the ability to get out of the grant of rights and to talk.
Yeah.
Now Notre Dame knows that Clemson has this ability. And they probably know North Carolina in a way, somehow, someday, some week, as they get out of that political quagmire, they know the pathway. And so now Notre Dame is probably thinking, yeah, this thing's going pear-shaped, this ACC, and now we might make ourselves available, because for the first time, we thought this thing was going to go into at least the early 2030s.
Right.
Maybe now this is the time. So that is why I think it's still, unfortunately, because I'm getting a lot of flack for it, but I have to say what I'm being told.
Sure.
And what Dennis Dodd said inartfully or whatever, I'm going to be honest with you. And a lot of people share his take on it. Like
the low 40s, like as far as
maybe not the low 40s, maybe not the low 40s, but the SEC is not into Florida State.
We know that.
So what that does is the Big Ten is sitting there going, well, SEC's not in the. They're not. Right. Now the Big Ten even has more the space to say, okay, well, of course we'll talk to Florida State. We might take Florida State, right. But since the SEC doesn't have that, it gives the ability for the Big Ten to possibly say, hey, we're gonna wait on this. We'll talk. We're going the deep weeds. These talks go. They don't. It doesn't happen like this.
Yeah, I think though, Greg, if you could get two premier athletic programs like Clemson and Florida State for half price, just like they did Oregon and Washington. Yeah. We ask all the time here, what is why not? If not now, when? What is the timing part of it? And I think that's a deal. Yeah. Could they get those schools at any time in the future? Of course they could. But now is a good time. Realignment still has the water all frothed up. The air is still going into the air for mixing the water up and whatnot. Why not? Why not get them if you can?
I would have, and I have said the exact same thing, and I would have agreed with you all the way up until last week. And so I'm just relaying to what a lot of people are thinking. Now, maybe they're all wrong. Or maybe it will change again. Maybe the moment that a settlement number gets Wild Ute saying, Florida State is the trigger. They're triggering this. What if that number comes out and then Big Ten says, oh, forget about it. We got to get these two Wild Ute could be absolutely correct.
If the real desire here is to go into high population areas with money and college applicants, right? Like that's what we're
and the demographics of
that's right.
Money, those who have the money to spend to go to college.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it makes perfect sense and stuff if you're a college targeting those areas. The state of Florida is massive. I have no idea why the Big Ten wouldn't want in the state of Florida. So if that's one of the ideas there, the North Carolina and Florida are like, I mean, that's much more valuable than Indiana. You already own Indiana market, right? Like you already own that and stuff. So you're not, it's not like Notre Dame is bringing a bunch of other like applicants or anything, you know? I mean, now with the brand and the media rights and everything, they're going to get a full share. But really, strategically, if you're trying to grow the footprint for new students, Florida and North Carolina, 100%. And even going into South Carolina. That's why all these schools we're talking about make sense. In a lot of different ways. There's about 10 ways that make sense.
Let's Greg, do you have a second? We can get caught up.
You got it. No, go ahead. I just wanted.
Don't sneak off. We're not letting you go.
I'm here. The show needed a villain besides Moen.
Yeah. Okay.
Moen's the hero. What are you talking about?
Oh, I mean the hero. Okay.
Man in Black. All right, here we
Greg,
go.
You clearly didn't hear the whole milking thing, I hope, right?
Yeah, I did. Unfortunately, I did. Go ahead.
All right. Kerry Go Knowles for $5 says, "Hey, Greg, have you found the fridge on the Big 12 Mafia set yet?"
That's a very good question. No, I do not know, but I'm going to have to find that out.
You will. Yeah, there's a secret pass key. You know, there's money we exchange, so it'll come. Kerry also says Miami will be Florida State's backpack. What do you think about? So let's get caught up to Miami. Friday night on our show, we're going to do a Miami question mark special and where they might end up. Where do you see Miami now in this sort of hectic time period that is out there? If North Carolina is being talked about, Miami sort of disappeared.
Where do I think Miami is?
Where do you think they go?
As you know, on any given Saturday sports book in Heisman City, where the PATC community lives, we don't have any odds up on the board anymore because of this new information we've gotten beaten over the head on, actually. So Miami, it's very interesting. We're going to have to keep an eye on who their next president's going to be. If it's the interim president, that's going to be very interesting indeed. And I think Miami has a shot to get into the Big Ten or the SEC. I think they've got a shot. I can't put a percentage on it. Again, I'm not trying to. I was reminded that, again, one of the rules of realignment is you got to look at the biggest dominoes.
Right.
In regards to these two dominoes, unlike Texas and Oklahoma, unlike USC, UCLA, unlike Oregon and Washington, unlike Utah, these two dominoes are in mystery because North Carolina is in the quagmire and Notre Dame is Notre Dame. Right. So I don't know, guys. I think Miami does have a shot, though, to get into the Big Ten. And I've said that before. And I think maybe it's increased a little bit since the last I've talked with you. And we shall see.
Okay. Terry Kane, another member, gives us a $10 super chat to say FSU to the MAC coming soon. You paid $10 for that, Terry.
Tell you what, this Kane, this Florida State and Miami,
that's a real thing.
There's some real rivalry venom there.
Absolutely true. Ryan Willie, the fateful Badger, hanging out up there by Minnesota, for $10 says, Big Ten order of finish. Let's do this. We're going to talk some football. Indiana, right? Purdue, UCLA, Northwestern, Rutgers, Minnesota, Nebraska, USC, Michigan State, Washington, Iowa, Illinois, Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan, Maryland. Okay. Oregon. Okay. That's just crazy talk. OSU's number one. There's no way Maryland finishes third. Is there?
Maryland's not
good.
Maryland's
good.
You told us that last year, Mo.
And they were good last year. They were good last year outside of
MJ Morris isn't going to lead Maryland to third place. Sorry.
I'm not saying they're going to hit third, but I'm saying they're top 6.
And in Minnesota is going to finish ahead of Nebraska when you go 5 levels down in the tiebreaker. Minnesota will finish ahead. Because these tiebreakers are going to decide so much of the orders of finish. So yeah.
That's awesome.
By the way, Iowa State. I've got Iowa State finishing third in the Big 12.
Wow, that's a surprise a little bit.
I think that's really smart, actually.
Their quarterback was the Big 12 Freshman of the Year. Their running back, Sama, was unbelievable at the end of the year. Great Xavier Henderson, wide receiver, good defense. I hope Immaculate is listening. I think the Cyclones are going to kick the Hawkeyes' tail.
Whoa!
And that's gonna push Iowa into a deep decline. And I think the Cyclones are going to be fantastic. I'm not sure why I'm bringing that up right now, but I think Iowa State is the real deal this year.
I think
when you say Iowa State's going to kick Iowa's tail, you mean it's going to be a 9-6 game, right?
6-3.
Normally I would say that. No, I think I think Iowa State's going to whoop them in Iowa City. By the way,
Dang.
We'll have to see. Kerry Go knows another $2 super chat says nobody takes Dodd seriously. I don't know. I don't know.
He's
I don't
reputable
feel
and stuff, but like saying that Florida State's have got evaluation in the low 40s, guys. That if you look at viewership, that just doesn't make any sense at all. I can't believe you'd say that. That's a slap in the face, the Noles.
Hey, let me and that circles back. I know you're not going to comment on Dodd as a reporter, Greg, but you do. You know, we've all been doing this a little bit of time now, and we have all these different contacts, lots of different types of writers, different stories, different things. Of everything that's happened since you started covering realignment for USC and then going to the Big Ten, what is the one thing that's changed most from when you started to what you have now?
What has changed the most?
Yeah, what's changed the most in the reporting? I think 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, you could trust people a little bit more.
I generally do trust them. I trust their motivation. I've come to the understanding they all are sitting on the same stories. Their information is embargoed. They can't deliver it. You get information, but you're told you can't go with it.
Right.
And if you noticed, when one reporter breaks one part of the story, another reporter breaks another part of the story. You've noticed that lately? It just happens because they all sort of have a little bit here and a little bit there. And sometimes they're trading bones. They're trading information. I can tell you that for sure. Dennis Dodd, I'm not going to, when Dennis Dodd reported, I'll give an example of Dennis Dodd getting and people are going to ask, why do I know this? But you don't have to, you can take this information out however you want. But there's a great example of how Dennis Dodd nailed the story but everyone thought he got it wrong. And that is when he reported that the Big 12 was told in a meeting from ESPN that they were done, that they were only going to do the Big 12, and it was a couple other conferences at the time. You remember that story?
I do remember,
Dennis Dodd reported. Yeah. He reported saying the Big 12 was told by ESPN that this is it. They weren't going to go with the Pac-12. They weren't going to do their Tier 1 deal. It was over. And then about an hour later, Nicole Auerbach and other reporters, remember, they jumped on it and said, no, the Pac-12 is still talking with ESPN.
Yeah, Schultz came out and did a report. That's not true. We're talking.
Well,
I remember.
Take this however you want it, but it was absolutely true. Right. And what happened, and I can't go in the deep weeds on this, but Dennis Dodd there was information. It was absolutely true. There was information leaked, and then there was a president in the former Pac-12 conference basically threw up his hand and said, "What the bloody hell?" Got on the phone allegedly with Yormark and told his people, those people in the Big 12 meeting leaked something out. They better keep their mouth shut. And then they did a back play where they got they told other reporters. These other reporters thought they were being told great information. So they came out and said, no, that ain't true. But it was all true. So that I know that is one story that Dennis Dodd absolutely nailed, that everyone thinks probably still today that he got wrong, but he nailed it. So
actually, that was one that John Wilner came out and refuted, going off of information he'd been told. He immediately
everyone refuted.
everybody.
Everyone
Nicole Arbach dumped on him. They all dropped on him that day.
Yep,
we were
and that
covering
was
that.
Operation. Yeah, and those reporters were speaking what they believe was to be the honest truth.
Right.
But Dennis Dodd did, and I've never spoken to Dennis Dodd in my life, but Dennis Dodd got information from a person inside that meeting, and that person got scolded by your Mark. And I'm probably giving way too much here, but then there was this operation, calm everything down, and information was given these reporters, and they went with it. But Dennis Dodd, then if you notice, the next few days, Dennis Dodd says, I'm standing by my report.
Yeah, he did.
And he had good reason to stand by his report. And if you notice, ESPN did not really give the Pac-12 any didn't really give them an offer after that. It was dead.
And I think there was only one offer to be had. It made sense, right? They turn it down. The guy down the street takes it. There's really nothing else to talk about. They needed to keep the.
I'm still convinced that
going.
Oregon and Washington would have signed nothing ever. I don't know. That's never come out, but that's the only thing that makes sense. Like, why in the world, if you were Oregon, would you ever sign?
They were waiting. They were, on one hand, they were like, okay, let's try to save this. But on the other hand, they knew of the interests of the Big Ten. They knew that the conference cracked one more time, because they were told they did have first party talks with the Big Ten. Right. Because the legal counsel of the Big Ten allowed it to happen, because they knew theoretically Washington and Oregon were leaving on August 2nd, 2024. So all that happened in D.C. and New York City and Washington, D.C. And then months later, they were able to, get it done.
Greg, thanks for coming on. Love to see you. Do you have any questions for us? We haven't seen you for a minute.
My question is for Wild Ute and the Utah Utes. Keithy, is he okay? Is he healthy? Is Cameron Rising? Is he okay? Is he healthy?
Greg, you trying to lay a bet here? Is that what you're
doing?
No.
I just if they are good to go. Now I had Utah number 2 on my order finish.
Right.
And I almost had them number 3 behind Iowa State. Mm-hmm. But then you think about Cameron Rising completing those third down passes to Keithy, moving the chains. That's how Utah does it, man. They're gritty. They're tough. I'm just wondering, are those 2 guys going to be ready to go in August? That's my question.
100% ready to go, 100% healthy. The rumor is that it's looking real good. This is the most talented skill position Utah's ever had. They're 3 tight end deep. They have a 3 tight end monster. Greg, you made a mistake by putting them at number 2. Utah's going to win. And they're not just going to win the Big 12. They're going to win a playoff game this year. That's how good this team is. Seriously, this team is absolutely loaded.
They are.
Ohio State, Moan.
That's right.
I want Ohio State revenge.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
I believe that.
Wow.
65-year-old Cam Rising's going to come out and beat Ohio State.
Before you go, Greg, I think this is something that you might like. This is we're a year on from, let me read this from Reddit College Football. 1 year ago this week, San Diego State told the Mountain West they were probably leaving, but needed a little extra time to make sure they would have joined the Pac-12, reportedly with SMU, to bring storied Conference of Champions back up to 12 teams.
Yeah.
Oh boy, the times they have changed.
There was a perfect storm happening for Aztecs there for a moment.
Like 10 seconds.
And things do change, right?
That's right.
And I've been a witness to that, and we'll see. We'll see. So I appreciate you guys letting me on.
Thanks for
Hey,
coming.
Greg, one thing before you leave. If it'll play here.
Yeah,
I gotta do this for you.
he might not.
Oh.
Let me
Our
tell
Greg
you
Flugaur
something.
sound.
Let me tell you something, Buckeye. You might be seeing us in Indianapolis. That's all I'm gonna say.
You gonna be
Minnesota.
sightseeing or what? Because you ain't coming for the title game.
Well, I may be, because listen to me. Since I've been alive, which has been 56 years, I have never seen, I've never heard, I've never smelled the hype of the quarterback that we've got, Max Brosmere. I'm telling you, we've never had hype for a quarterback, not since Tony Dungy, 1975. Okay,
boy.
So all I'm saying, if we see on Thursday night North Carolina at Minnesota, and if Max Brosmere is the guy that I think he is, buckle up, brace for impact. The Gophers are on their way mowing. Indianapolis, Buckeyes, Golden Gophers. That's all I got to say.
Let's go.
Talking
I'm
about
with
Greg.
you.
Topping him up for the
Minnesota.
UNC playoff.
You win
Let's
that one.
go,
If
Gophers.
you can't dream on June 18th, you might as well just forget about
That's
it.
right. That's exactly
All
right.
right.
Thank you so much.
See you guys
Greg.
Thanks for
later.
stopping by, Greg,
Bye, Greg.
man.
Got it.
We'll see
Appreciate
you
it.
later. All right.
Beautiful.
Bye-bye.